We welcome you to round 6 of the V8 Supercar Championship on 7. Coming up today, we'll have qualifying and the first of 3 races this weekend. Now, Craig Lowndes is the defending champion here for the last couple of years, in fact. So can he become the first man to win 3 straight rounds at this circuit? Alongside me, as always, is Neil Crompton. Afternoon, Cromley. Let's start with the off-track activity first. Tumultuous couple of days that really could change the face of the category and pit lane.
That's exactly right. Massive news in the last 48 hours, Matty, because Ford dropped the bombshell that they're withdrawing significant financial support from several of their key teams. Now, frankly, it doesn't come as a huge surprise, but it's nonetheless very, very disappointing. But when you think about it, we know that the parent companies are having a tough time in the US. Locally, it's no secret that Ford are really battling a little, and there's a lot pinned on that brand new FG model that we saw at Sandown last time out. However, you can look at this problem in 2 ways. They are firmly entrenched in the sport. They're making a very significant investment. They've announced that they're doing that. However, they've trimmed it down to just 2 teams. It's Ford Performance Racing and Stone Brothers. There was some chat a few weeks ago they might completely disappear from the sport, so thankfully that is not the case. However, big money, all the money has been snipped from we've got Dick Johnson Racing, 888 Race Engineering, and also Brytech, no dough, but they will get support another kind.
So as far as the racing goes, effectively it means that Ford has decided to put all its eggs into the 2 baskets, as you mentioned, SBR and FPR. And you also mentioned 2 very big names there, Dick Johnson Racing, Team Vodafone. They are now on their own. They're not too happy about it. Here is Roland Dane, the team principal from 888.
Well, when when your girlfriend sacks you and you don't do the sacking yourself, maybe it's a little bit difficult to swallow, especially when you have got 16 race wins over the last 3 years, including 2 Bathursts, as you say, and dominated the Enduros generally in that period, and the opposition is just nowhere near it. Yeah, it's a little bit difficult to accept.
Now, there's a lot of history there. We've been involved now, for 35 years, sort of running the gauntlet, and as I said, it came as a bit of a shock. But then you sit down and you think to yourself, well, over that period of time, our team is the one in the history of Ford motor racing in Australia. We've won more races, we've won more championships and more Bathursts than any other team. So that's why it becomes a bit of a shock to me.
Certainly is. There's a lot of emotion flying around pit lane at the moment. What's your take on all of it?
Well, first of all, Ford are having a cracker of a season. We've had 14 races so far, and they've won 10 of them. So it kind of comes as a counterbalance to that, unfortunately. Look, I thought it was a little bit odd because clearly Team Vodafone and 888 have done an outstanding job the last couple of years. They've won a couple of Bathursts on the trot, 2006 and 2007. And even looking at the 2008 season, 5 of the 14 races have been won between either Jamie Whincup and Craig Lowndes. And then, of course, you look at Dick Johnson. He's been their pin-up boy for 30-odd years. So a real sting in the tail and certainly disappointing for some Ford fans.
OK, here's a hard one. What next? What happens now?
Well, motor racing is an adaptive animal. They find ways in this business to keep the passion alive. So I'm sure that there'll be teams working hard out there to fill that gap. What I think it will do, and it has already done, is trigger some meaningful discussion now about whether indeed other manufacturers ought to be involved in the sport and just what the future technical direction should be. And whereas in days gone by, both manufacturers said absolutely no way to other participants, now they're both suggesting, hey, it might be a reasonable idea.
And a little later on today, just after qualifying, in fact, both Roland Dane and Dick Johnson will join us to talk about this on a bigger plane, if you like, a very, very big issue facing the V8 Supercars. But there is a championship at stake, folks, and Mark Winterbottom is the championship leader for the first time in his career and for the first time at FPR. He took that at Sandown, so he's got a 52-point buffer over Garth Tander. Jamie Whincup a further 10 points behind. Rick Kelly and Craig Lowndes certainly in the picture. The weather here today is not too hard to predict. It's going to be hot. It's going to be a little bit breezy and quite smoky as well. Maximum 30 degrees. The track will be hotter than that. The cabin will be intense heat. There's a lot to look forward to today. Qualifying is next. You're at Hidden Valley Raceway on 7 for the V8 Supercars.
Billy's a team, he's excellent, be on, but
and ready to go for the first leg of qualifying here at Hidden Valley Raceway. The new livery for Team Vodafone 888. You can see there the red dust livery for Jamie Whincup and Craig Lowndes. In the fight for pole position here, Holden has won 7 out of the 10, and Mark Scaife has the most with 4 poles. Let's take a look at this circuit, 2.9 kilometres, highlighted by the main straight, 1.1 k's long.
And a very enjoyable racing track to run on, Matthew. It's got an enormous main straight, as you just pointed out, with an approach speed of about 270 kilometres an hour. And you can see that we've noted 12 corners there and 3 sectors that we'll make reference to in qualifying. The first sector, the yellow area, is on the approach to the right-hander that takes you up into the valley. The valley is sector 2, essentially, and the final sector, the run down towards the checkered flag. Slowest speed is in the middle of turn 6 there in that hairpin at 65 kilometres an hour, and the top speed's about 270. Passing opportunities, well, there's about 3 or 4 good ones around this track.
One of the other issues facing the guys here is a new Dunlop control tyre compound. The synthetic-based binding agent replaces the oil-based one. So they had their first look at it under race conditions, if you like, or under lap flying conditions in practice yesterday, and really not enough to get a good read on it. Mark Winterbottom was the quickest in the combined practice sessions, just 2 1/1000ths of a second quicker than Mark Scaife, and that was really at the death of practice 3. Shane Van Gisbergen, who put on such a great performance at Sandown, struggled a bit in the early practice sessions. This is his first time here at Hidden Valley, but he got it together towards the end. And there is Rick Kelly, 21st position in car 15, a brand new car for Rick this weekend. So he's struggling to come to grips with it early on. We'll see what he can deliver in qualifying. Daniel Gibson.
Hello, mate. Matty, you just mentioned about the new tyre, and that is, of course, here at Hidden Valley and will be for Eon. Now, when we hear the word new, we quite often think that perhaps it's a new tyre. It means it's a new compound. It's either harder or softer than the original one, but it's not. What's actually changed is the new agent, the binding agent. You mentioned crude oil, now is synthetic. They still look black, they still look round. It's going to be interesting to see how they go, though. But what's happened is, with the synthetic ingredient now in the tyres, it's actually a little cheaper to make. How they've also made the contract price and saved money and passed this on to teams is this. Check this out. Dunlop yellow transfer sticker on one side. We used to have it on 2. Dunlop have taken it off the other side. At $9 a pop and at 11,000 tyres that they supply to the category, it saves the firm about $100,000. Each of these is handmade. It takes 3 hours for a man in the factory in Japan to make them. These blokes here torch them in about 3/10. The jury's out about the synthetic compound used in these tyres and the agent. Will it be faster? Will it be more reliable? We'll see after qualifying.
Thank you. About the new tyre gets a baptism of fire today too. The ambient temperature at the moment in Darwin, 30 degrees Celsius. The track temperature at the moment is 37 degrees. They expect that to get up to a maximum of 45 degrees today. Now that tyre, its optimum performance temperature is around 60 to 80 degrees Celsius, and it'll withstand temperatures of 120 degrees Celsius. The drivers are going for the cool vest today. It is warm trackside, boys.
Thanks, Brett. It's Mark Bretta with Daniel Gibson. Those numbers are making my head spin already. We're watching Jamie Whincup in the 88 car. 6th in the combined practice. Said he wasn't happy with his own form and, in fact, expected to be further down.
There's always a little learning exercise, though, when a new tyre arrives on the scene in motor racing, and so though the tyre hasn't changed substantially, any variation, even if it's only 1% or 2, is enough for everybody to go scrambling a little bit as they try and find the optimum setup on that tyre. As we ride there with Jamie and watching the boys coming onto that front straight, that that left-hander that brings you on is particularly critical for treatment on the right rear tyre. Just on the rev limiter there at 7,500 revs, top gear down to this long radius turn 1. A couple of places around the track this weekend where the concrete aprons on the exits, like that one there on the exit of turn 1, have been extended slightly and reprofiled. There are several bumps on the braking approach into the right-hander there at turn 5 also, Matthew, that greatly upset the car if you get it wrong. There's another concrete extension on the exit of 5. You'll see another one on the left side here in a moment. Just goes out of view on our onboard shot. But they've tidied up a couple of areas around the track where dirt is brought onto the surface, and that's a good thing. They do a wonderful job at this facility, considering how the place gets tortured by the wet season up here in summer. and then baked through the dry in what you'd loosely describe as winter.
What a difference a few weeks makes from Sandown to here. This is a crucial part of the circuit. You've got to get that exit right, the last turn, to get the maximum speed down here. What about this for a ride? Blasting down towards turn 1. Enormously heavy on the brakes.
Whincup's the quickest man so far on a 10.2. Tander's next in the queue, on board with him now, 10.5. Then Stephen Richards, 10.5. Richo made a small mistake yesterday. Garth was a bit mystified by yesterday's form. On the first tyre set, everybody was given 2 brand new sets of those tyres to practice on.
Okay, Jamie, P1 so far, mate. Nice and cool.
And on the first tyre set, Garth found the balance and the grip levels a little bit odd. They played and tweaked the car. They didn't think they made a lot of progress. They put the second tyre set on and the thing was a jet. So he was walking around kind of scratching his head yesterday afternoon, and scratching his head at the moment as Paul Dumbrell has run wide on the exit of turn 8, run out of road there.
Boys, the Dunlop team are just letting all the teams know in pit lane that this tyre is probably a lot better straight out of the box, so strategies might change. You might find cars just go bursting out of pit lane and try and lay down that fast lap quickly, and that they may sit back here and just wait for clear space on the track before they go for it.
More than likely what Garth is doing right now, Barretts. He follows Jamie Whincup in. You're right about Garth's day yesterday. Strange was the best way to describe it. As we take a look at one of the Team BOC cars going off, that's car 12 of Andrew Jones.
He's gone off up at turn 10. Last year that trapped James Courtney, and yesterday it also trapped Fabian Coulthard.
Yeah, Fabian was about the only drama in practice. Bit of damage to the left rear quarter and the boot lid as well on car 111. It'll be all shiny and new though for this qualifying session.
Boys, Andrew Jones is trying to go as fast as he can at the moment. On the other hand, his wife Michelle is trying to do exactly the opposite. She is now 37 weeks pregnant. She's at home in Albury. She's watching this racing very carefully at the moment. Hopefully, a top 10 qualifying for Andrew Jones might see things move along on the home front.
Hey, I tell you what, a few of those moves by AJ could get things moving a bit quicker at home too. You want to stay on the track. Here's Jason Richards, Sprint Gas Racing. He's posted the 4th quickest time, 1:10.57 for the Kiwi. Jamie Whincup, Garth Tander and Stephen Richards lead the timesheet in the first leg of qualifying with 12 minutes remaining.
It gives you an indication of just the amazing speed and that camera that's embedded in the ripple strip down there. That approach into the right-hander at turn 5, it's got a speed of 215 odd kilometres an hour. And the cars are really rolling around as they try and get a decent footprint on the road. Looking at Jason Richards there, back of the car sliding around through the right-hander then at turn 7. He was a bit mystified yesterday as well. Just a lack of general grip. The balance of the car was good front to rear, but not sufficient grip all around to give him a number.
The man you're riding with right now, Russell Ingall, won the first ever round here in 1998. 17th in the practice session yesterday, had a puncture in his second set of tyres. He reckons he's got the car though to go top 10. And that was a 1:10.45, so that puts him 3rd on the list behind Whincup and Todd Kelly, who's moved up. You'll see a lot of this across the course of the weekend, trying any way you can to cool down. The kid's always cool. Turned 34 recently. Craig Lowndes. Towards the valley goes the Enforcer. So they're the guys that will lose from 21 down to 29 with 10.5 minutes remaining. Marcus Marshall, Andrew Jones, Michael Patrizzi, Lee Holdsworth. He posted a really good time yesterday. Andrew Thompson, Tony D'Alberto, Kane Scott, Michael Caruso and Stephen Johnson on your totem pole. There is Lee Holdsworth. New Walkinshaw Performance engines at Gary Rogers Motorsport have paid dividends. He's on a flyer here. As he crosses the line, it'll bump him further up the list, up to 11th. So that was the one that Holdsworth was waiting to piece together, and the boss happy?
Seems to be, Matty. I spoke to Lee Holdsworth just after the test, and he said, look, these new engines from Walkinshaw Performance are sensational. About another 5 or 6k an hour down the straight line here, and they give them about another 80 metres on the rev limiter.
The roll centre adjustment yesterday transformed this car for Lee Holdsworth, and as I mentioned, he ended up top 3 in the combined practice times.
Kelly, with this brand new car yesterday, was unhappy with the performance of the car. Again, a little bit like the Jason Richards comments, didn't specifically have any one issue, just an overall lack of grip. You see the car sliding off the exit of turn 7 there. Let's see where he is at the moment in the order.
There's only 4 100ths outside the cut-off time of James Courtney. So if he's pieced together the 3rd sector, it doesn't elevate him.
11.1, that was 1/10 slower than his best time. Alistair, his engineer.
So Jamie Whincup leads the way at the moment in the first leg of qualifying. This is the 6th round of the 2008 V8 Supercar Championship. Come back and join us at Hidden Valley right after this. We're back with the first stanza here of qualifying. And you're riding with Rick Kelly, who is continuing to try and make it outside of the cut-off area, which is 21 and down. The brand spanker, the VE Commodore. He pulls out of that one, takes it into pit lane. They're going to have a roll of the dice late in the session. Greg Murphy looks like the end of turn 1.
It's definitely Greg, and I think he's just overshot down there in the braking area at 1.
It's exactly right, Neil. That's what's happened. I heard a little bit of radio chat there. My kids just dropped out, so that's why I couldn't do it. A little bit of radio chat. Pedal has gone through to the floor, complaining possibly a brake issue, caliper related, possibly coming into the pits now.
Andrew Thompson went with him as well. Gibbo, as you were just letting us see what unfolded with Murph as we take a look at Mark Scaife. Right on the money in practice. At the moment, he's 12th.
Ingall's done a good job too. He's up into 3rd at the moment, Matt. 10.4 is the time. We're not seeing anything in the way of big numbers. Yesterday's peak speed set by Mark Winterbottom was a 9.7. That was considerably slower than this time last year. Of course, tracks vary day to day, year to year, and we've also got the extra variation of the tyres as now Cam McConville also runs off down there. One might think that there could be something on the road when you see 3 people off down there, all experienced drivers, or is that a different part of the racetrack?
I think he just went a bit deeper. It's down at turn 1 there, but he just went a little bit deeper and ended up spinning it around on the grass. So 21st down to 29 is James Courtney, Paul Dumbrell, Rick Kelly. Gee, there's some names there. Marcus Marshall.
And Gisbergen just jumped up to 12th. Here's a replay of what happened to Cam. Front left brake lock-up. This was the big issue for Cam yesterday. He was having trouble on that bump down there, and it coincides with the exact point where he does the downshift, and it was causing them some problems yesterday. Damage to tyre. Andrew Thompson we saw off there before as well.
There is a runoff area down there at turn 1. If you go straight ahead like Murph did, you'll find a little bit more gravel on the way down. Cam McConville went a little bit further left into the corner, so he ended up straight on the grass.
To go. Give yourself a nice slow warm around lap to get the front tyres up, and then you'll have time for a couple of flyers.
Sounds like Eric Pender talking to Rick Kelly. And the problem when you go straight ahead down there, Cromley, is that the pebbles down there, the gravel's quite sharp. You can end up with a puncture. Here's Jason Bright.
And that could be the source of whatever was on the road down there. Clearly oil coming from the axle housing, from the diff housing of that car of Greg Murphy's. And so if any of that was on the road down there, that would certainly be a trigger for everybody to fly off the road.
Neil, just talking to Stone Brothers Racing, they're scratching their heads a bit with James Courtney's car. Not sure what the problem is, but they just can't seem to get the car right for James at the moment and deliver the power that he is looking for. A couple of turns of rear roll, but that's about all they can do at the moment.
Well, this man has been top 10 in qualifying for 4 out of the 5 rounds we've had so far. The only one he missed was Sandown when he was 11th. So this would be a big surprise for James Courtney.
Looks like he's just leaning on the car a little bit, just seeking out the grip and maybe about to have another run. So Mark's just described the change to the rear roll centre on that car in an effort to try and tidy up its balance, perhaps looking for a little bit more turn in the car. It's down at 21st at the moment, can't be there. Front left is also locked up a little on James' car down there, and you can see that the effect that has is to cart the car wide of the ideal racing line. Uses a little bit too much of the exit on turn 1. And this is that bumpy approach into 5 that I talked about before.
And remember, boys, a lot of pressure on James Courtney this week too. In last weekend's newspaper survey, he was voted by his peers as the most overrated driver. He's pretty keen to just dust off that reputation this weekend.
Pretty keen to forget about 2007 here when he ended up on his lid. He had an awful weekend. There's the bumps down towards turn 1.
Yeah, he got a lot of brake pressure on down there at that point, pulling the car from 270 kilometres an hour down to 85 kilometres an hour, trying to find the very last millimetre.
Rick Kelly tries to piece together the third and final sector of this 2.9 kilometre circuit and does so beautifully. Way out of the danger zone, up towards the top 10. He's safe.
Holdsworth just went to second, and that's a big jump up for Rick Kelly. So that takes him into contention now. Very competitive time relative to this session. A 10.6, almost identical time as Craig Lowndes.
Here comes the crazy time. 2.5 minutes left. Stephen Johnson.
That's a great lap. Let's bail out of the next one. P5 at that time. Back in.
Extricates himself from the totem pole of death and goes right up to top 5. Who else is down there? Michael Patrizzi, Shane Price, Cam McConville, Greg Murphy in 24th. Caruso, Dumbrell, D'Alberto, Thompson and Scott.
And I'm imagining that there would be a pretty substantial mark on that original front left tyre on Cam's car, so this is possibly another set of tyres now. 3 sets of tyres allocated this weekend, 12 of them for qualifying and all 3 of the races.
Well, if he gets this one right, and he does, that bumps Mark Scaife into 21st position. Scaife has been on the front row all the way back to 2000. The only time he was out of it was last year when he qualified 3rd.
Scaife just jumped up to position 4. That was the radio call that you got in the background. And he only had 1 minute and 25 seconds left to get himself out of jail on that one. And remember, yesterday he was 22 10,000ths from being the fastest man behind Mark Winterbottom.
So Jamie Whincup leads the way. All these guys are safe. You can see on your qualifying leaderboard for the next leg. Down to position 20. So Jason Bright's done a good job. Craig Lowndes in at 14th.
Jason Richards and his guys have tidied up that car a lot. He's 10th after that first burst of qualifying and was near the bottom yesterday. Great time also for Stephen Johnson, 6th at the moment, so well and truly safe. Got to go and do it all again, though, and then ultimately find a way into the top 10. Less than 40 seconds remaining now. Marcus Marshall, Greg Murphy, Michael Patrizzi, Shane Price, Tony D'Alberto, Michael Caruso, Paul Dumbrell, then Andrew Thompson and Kane Scott. Murph's trying to dig himself out here. 2 green sectors, it could be on, and he is in 16th.
That puts Shane Van Gisbergen into 21st.
Dumbrell jumped up then as well to 9th. He was right down near the bottom. And so Andrew Jones is outside the 20 as Marcus Marshall does a bit of farming, followed by Van Gisbergen, Marshall. We're looking at Patrizzi, Price, D'Alberto, Caruso, Thompson and Scott.
See if Van Gisbergen's out there, so he won't have another shot at it. Caruso comes across and stays in 27th. Kane Scott, the Team Kiwi car stays in 29th. The checkered flag has come down. This will show you what happened to the Irwin Tools entry of Marcus Marshall. A little bit more than farming. He did a bit of ploughing out there, but stayed away from the tyre barriers, rejoined the circuit and brings it back. But he won't take any further part in this qualifying session. Here's Tony D'Alberto. In car 55, stays in position 26. So of the those who are further up, or should be further up, all of those guys have made it through, headed by Whincup, Holdsworth, Kelly and Scaife. The top four. Russell Ingall said that he had a top 10 car. He's delivered in the first leg. Positions 11 through to 20 will also go through, and they include Jason Richards and Rick Kelly. Lowndes there in 888, position 16, and Fabian Coulthard gets in. However, Andrew Jones, Shane Van Gisbergen, Marcus Marshall, Patrizzi, Shane Price, D'Alberto, Caruso, Andrew Thompson and Scott will sit it out. Back at Hidden Valley for more right after this. Welcome back. Jamie Whincup leads us out into the second leg of qualifying. At pole position at our last round at Sandown. Ended up taking 2 out of the 3 race wins and the round.
Down here with Shane Van Gisbergen. Not the best way to start a debut here at Hidden Valley.
No, for sure. We struggled a bit there with the car and had quite a bit of understeer, and also the shift cut wasn't working, so I was having to shift on the limiter. But, you know, no matter, we'll get it fixed for the races, and I'm sure we'll be able to pass some cars.
Your first time here, how quick was it for you to pick it up and read it? What do you think of the track?
Yeah, it's a pretty technical old place. It looks pretty simple, but, you know, it is quite tough, and we've been working away at it. We had the extra session yesterday, so that helped. But, you know, I think we'll be right. We'll be hopefully in the 10 by the end of the weekend.
You're coming to grips very quickly with the category, and the boys say your technical knowledge is right up there in your feedback, so we'll let you get sorted, and good luck for the rest.
Thank you. Cheers.
The Giz, 22nd position. It's his worst qualifying of the season, but he is on a very steep learning curve. Only saw this track for the first time on Thursday when he walked it. Before that, it was like you're doing at home, watching it on the box and also getting it via a computer simulation.
So the aim of the game now is to make your way into the final 10. Already eavesdropping on some of the radio conversations, and different people had to use a couple of sets of tyres to survive that first period of qualifying. Just 3 tyre sets available for qualifying. Got to be a little bit careful that you don't pinch your own result. Stephen Richards off on a mission now to try and make sure that he gets into the next group. Quite a bit of oversteer evident in that car at turns 1 and 5. Then that is the back of the car sliding around a little. You can afford to do that for a lap, maybe 2 in qualifying. You can't afford to do that through the duration of a race, or it'll murder in particular, the right rear tyre around here.
Speaking of tyres, Neil, tyre update. Mark Winterbottom, Stephen Richards and James Courtney all on the same strategy, all on their first set of tyres for the opening of this session. They'll come in shortly and put on fresh tyres.
Yeah, Barrett's Jamie Whincup's also out there on his first set of tyres. Mark Scaife bolted on a second set of rears only, and they repressured those. Garth Tander's on his second set, and Craig Lowndes is also on his second set of tyres. They did a rear ride height adjustment on that down.
And just updating information from that previous qualifying session where we saw Greg Murphy in the lane with oil beneath that car, and we also saw the car off the road. They had a brake bleed nipple on the brake caliper, was a little loose, and therefore fluid was coming out of the caliper, and that was the reason why the oil was on the road and why Greg went off down there.
Winterbottom 5th at the moment. FPR boss Tim Edwards looking on. Mark said after the session yesterday, when he claimed the top spot in practice in the last 4 minutes, that he had still some complaining to do, so there was more to come in terms of speed, grip out of this car.
First time in his V8 Supercar career that Mark Winterbottom has been the leader of the V8 Supercar Championship. He's in good form at the moment, and he's down in 8th. Whincup's done the quickest time at a 10 even, and that's the fastest we've seen so far today. But remember, yesterday the reference time was a 9.7. So it's Whincup Jason Richards, Lee Holdsworth. So Richards definitely smartened up that car, and Holdsworth further cementing the form that we saw yesterday as a result of that new engine package. He's also got a new chassis coming. We looked at that car in skeleton form, V8 Extra, a little while ago, and that car will be online in the not too distant future. 2 green boxes now for Tander. Let's see what he punches out. Second, and Fabian Coulthard's done a very fast split to the end of the first sector. That's the braking approach up to turn 5. Oh, off the road for Tander. He was on the hard cut down there for quite a long period of time, and Tander just wanders out in the marbles down there. Not good for that tyre set.
Plenty of time, mate. Currently P2 with a 10-2, so plenty of time to cool it down, clean those tyres and go again.
Last lap allowance was a 1:10.217. That puts him third. Don't forget, after qualifying, special panel featuring Roland Dane from 888 Team Vodafone, and also Dick Johnson to talk about the situation facing them and the category. A little bit of a lock-up around 5 allowance.
What was interesting then was that Craig had that little lock-up, which typically means that you'll then wash the front out and run wide. We've got the yellow flag flying up there, so someone's off the road, and it's Paul Dumbrell up at turn 10. And as I said earlier in the commentary, that's a popular spot to go off. And fortunately, Craig didn't have to pass anybody up there, because he wouldn't have been able to do that with the yellow out. He did lose a 10th to Whincup in that second sector split, but he was very quick in the first sector allowance. He's third at the moment. Does he improve? No, he's just a whisker slower.
Okay, JJ, sorry about that. Both laps were much better. Made a slight little mistake. I had a little lock up into the hairpin. But yeah, sorry about that.
We've got a red flag out at the moment. As the Zinger replay shows that Paul Dumbrell in the Autobahn entry finds the gravel, as you mentioned, Cromley, up at turn 10. Goes in sideways. It did its job well.
Did a very good job, because we've seen quite a bit of damage sustained on cars up there in days gone by as they've rocketed across the top of the very hard surface and whacked that wall. So although it makes a little bit of a mess, the blue metal there has done its job.
Let's take a break as qualifying continues at Hidden Valley in the top end. Here we go again. Paul Dumbrell's car has been removed from the side of the circuit, so leg 2 can recommence. Whincup is leading the way on the timesheets. Here are the guys from 11th down to 20th in the danger zone.
A couple of blokes sitting in the lane, very, very well placed at the moment too, and that's Jamie Whincup out there on his second set of tyres. Todd Kelly has been the smiling assassin, little sneaky along. Second set of tyres for him, going beautifully. Craig Lowndes will go out shortly on his third and final set, and a slight change for Garth Tander. They've put some gaffer tape in the front air dam, searching for a little bit more grip.
And just to postscript that remark, they put a little bit more blocker in the front radiator area. It just has the effect of creating a little more downforce. Just in that black hole you can see beneath the bumper bar affects, if you like, the front wing performance of the car, and a few extra kilograms of downforce there can sometimes make the difference. Now, the trade-off for that is you're stealing cool air away from the radiator, and so again you can get away with it in qualifying. Mike Henry on the right, and Teco Matt Nilsson there on screen at the moment. Bryce Seals to his left, and the engineering group, the Holden Racing team. And if you run too much of that blocker in the front of the car, you can boil the tea, as it were, end up with too much water temperature. But for qualifying, we only need to punch a lap or two. For a lap round here that lasts 70-odd seconds, you can definitely get away with it and take the risk and afford to run the water temperature just a smidge higher.
So the 5-time touring car champion and 4-time pole sitter here, Mark Skaife, has 7.5 minutes to make it through to the next leg. He's currently in 11th, but 1 green box against Todd Kelly is a good sign. He's approaching the end of sector 2, up towards turn 10.
Very good form at the moment, Todd. That new car of his is working beautifully, and in fact his teammate Shane Price has stepped up to another chassis this weekend as well, which has the same improvements on it as Todd. He's enjoying his time with Larry Perkins and Jack Daniels Racing. He's hoping to stay with them for next year. 2 green boxes here for Scaife.
Could be going towards the top 6 here. Make that 5, 110.3.
Guys, Greg Murphy just back out on the track. They held him in pit lane, just dropping the tyre pressures and changing the rear roll centre a little, just tinkering around with those tyres as everyone is at the moment.
Worth going on board for Jamie Whincup right now because he's just done a 109.99. The first time we've gone under 110 in this qualifying session.
You see Jamie using the sequential gear shift mechanism in his car, just pulls the lever back. Just did a count while we were looking at him on board down there at turn 1 as we go back to Courtney, and there are only 10 drivers in the field now using the H pattern as Courtney jumps to 3rd. And so the rest of them are now slowly shifting across to using the sequential box, which effectively works like that of a motorcycle shift mechanism. It returns back to a centre position. And for the second time in qualifying now, we're seeing Garth Tander wandering wide down at turn 1. He can't quite get the braking right. See the little instability in the middle braking sector there.
Well, Garth's already done a 110.21, so he's inside the top 10. In fact, he's 4th. Russell Ingles just done the 3rd quickest time as he comes across the line.
And Whincup's done a very quick split to the end of the 2nd sector, which has further improved his time. He's just crossed the line. There he is, 1 minute 9.78. Now a 9.7 takes him to about the speed we saw yesterday. And it was a 9.7854. Today it's a 9.7813. That's the fastest we've seen on the new tyre.
Rick Kelly put it together after a slower first sector, got the 2 green boxes.
Let's save the tyres. Position 9, keep up it.
I think he asked if he was comfortably in the 10.
9th is not comfortable. White flag means someone's travelling slowly, and there he is. Jason Bright pointing in the wrong direction in the Fujitsu car. Not bad to have an air conditioning sponsor when you're at the top end. And Brighty's safely been able to turn that car around, get back on with the job. Oops. This is why it happened.
Whoa. Stephen Richards did a good job to get out of the way there, so he did make a little bit of contact with the rail on the right-hand side of the circuit. I wonder if he got Richards at all.
That was really strange because it happened very late, almost as though they touched and something broke. Very weird. Just the way essentially fell off the road late in that sequence.
So Tander, McConville and Kelly come down, but there was no change there, although Mark Winterbottom's just done the 7th fastest time.
Great to see Mark Scaife back up on top of the timesheets, and an interesting tyre strategy, tyre management. They've been just changing the working side of car 2, Neil.
Guys, it's all clicked for James Courtney. He's back in pit lane, sitting down, just stretching out in the car at the moment and waiting for the right time. But they have just done some damper and roll centre changes that have just seemed to have clicked with that car. It is where they want it to be now. James is happy.
Well, Gibbo mentioned Mark Scaife, and just take a look at what happens in the blink of an eye here. He's down to 11th. Mark Winterbottom, though, is on a flyer, and so too is Lee Holdsworth. We'll see his time before we join Frosty. Holdsworth in car 33, from 13th up to 5th. Winterbottom is in 9th position. He's done the fastest split to the 1st and 2nd sectors. Here he is. Look at the attitude of car 5.
A couple of very uncomfortable little joins in the road on this racetrack. One of them's up there on the run to the final turn, turn 14. We were with Mark Winterbottom then. That car dampening those bumps out very nicely, and he goes to position 2. He's just a whisker, 0.0125 behind Whincup.
Now Rick Kelly's in 11th. Scaife is in 12th. Stephen Johnson 13th. Paul Morris, Coulthard, Todd Kelly, Bright, McConville, Dumbrell and Greg Murphy. 2 minutes 15 remaining. Stephen Johnson. You cannot get any closer to the cutoff mark. Who's his teammate? 0.007 at the end of sector 2.
Winterbottom's going on with this. He's fast to the end of the 2nd split.
So Stephen Johnson goes up into 10th, knocks his teammate Davison down to 11th. Dick doesn't know whether to laugh or cry on that one. Whincup and Winterbottom, the only two to go under 1 minute 10.
Remember, we're going to have Dick on the show later today, together with Roland Dane, to discuss this.
Currently P2, 1.5 minutes to go.
Craig Lowndes has done a very fast split to the second sector as well. He's done a 48.6 as we go back to Mark Winterbottom, position 2. That gap remains the same. Here's Lowndes. It's going to jump him up, I think.
Absolutely. From 9th right up.
Down P1.
Right up for Craig Lowndes. So it's a double for Team Vodafone at the top of the timesheets, then another double for FPR in 3rd and 4th. Here's Mark Scaife from 13th up to 5th.
And 3 drivers are on a 9.7. Lowndes, Whincup and Winterbottom, all of them Fords. Then Jason Richards, the first of the Holdens.
So with Scaife buying into the top 10, it puts Stephen Johnson and Will Davison in 11th and 12th. Here's Rick Kelly, 13th. The signs aren't good after the first sector. But over the last few laps, Cromley, he's been better in the final 2, not this time. He's chasing his former teammate's mark to get into the top 10. It's happy hour at the Valley. Will it work for Kelly, the defending pole sitter here? He stays outside the top 10. He's got one more shot at it. What's he got left?
Compared to a couple of cars that we heard earlier in qualifying, nowhere near as long on the rev limiter down there for Rick Kelly. And Winterbottom's gone into the lane. Still quite a lot of race cars on track out there at the moment. On the left-hand side of the approach to 5 there is where we've got our camera in the ripple strip. We'll show you that shot over the weekend. Well, that was a nasty mid-corner slide then for Rick, and I'd say he's aborted the lap. The thing just broke away from him in the mid-corner when he had all the load on the car, and it just did a cold slide vibration across the road in the middle of the corner.
Gee, they're resilient, aren't they, at Jim Beam Racing?
Right out of it, please. That moved you up to P8. Good job. Right out of it.
Great effort from Will Davison. Given the instructions to back right out of it, he's gone up into 8th. Oh, here's Tander with a last-second dive. This looks very good to get into the 10. Oh, just.
P10, mate. P10.
And bumps Courtney in the process.
The question is, who's still on a flyer? There's not many left out there. That should be game, set and match for leg 2 of qualifying. And that will mean that Garth Tander sneaks in only just into 10th position. My goodness. 5 guys go under 1 minute 10. Lowndes, Whincup, Winterbottom, Richards, Jason Richards and Mark Scaife. Hasn't Jason Richards been under the radar for Sprint Gas Racing? Stephen Russell Ingle will make it. Will Davison's there, Lee Holdsworth. And as you just saw, Garth Tander in the dying seconds. So Courtney and Johnson miss out. Rick Kelly, the defending pole sitter, will start race 1 from position 13. And Paul Dumbrell will be at the back end of the top 20. So the fight for pole continues. How much more can you handle? We'll come back and do the top 10 after this. So the final leg of qualifying to decide our pole sitter here at Hidden Valley for round 6 of the championship. One thing that we do know, following on from practice, is that Russell Ingle in particular was spot on. Said that he had a top 10 car. He's made it that way. He was 7th fastest after that second leg. Here he is, the enforcer.
Well, James Courtney, your birthday last Sunday. Happy birthday, but I know what you really wanted was a top 10 qualifying position.
Yeah, it's a bit disappointing. We had a pretty good run yesterday. We went out in the first session. Today we were quite a way off, so it was hard work for us to get back to where we were, and it was disappointing not to just make it inside the 10. We've had a pretty good run with top 10s this year, but you know, the guys will look it over the data and we'll come fighting back.
Now, the upside is you had some trouble with the car earlier on. You obviously got that sorted out.
Yeah, we'll probably scattered a little bit after we did our first run. We're quite a way off, so we had to work pretty hard and make some good decisions, and the guys did that. But we only just missed out by 100th, so it's you know, we're there or thereabouts, and we'll make some changes and we'll be right this afternoon.
James, good luck for race 1.
Thank you.
Down here with the disappointed Rick Kelly. Brand new car. What was the go?
To be honest, I'm not too sure. I don't think it's a car that's phasing us this weekend. We just had a couple of setup problems. It's really frustrating, to be honest. You feel like going and kicking the crap out of something right now. Prefer to be on the track in the top 10 there, but look, we haven't got it. We've got a little bit of work to do still. We lost most of yesterday's practice session with the direction we went. You know, we tried to make that up in practice, but weren't able to get it. So we're going to have to work forward in the races now, which I'm confident we can do, but I'm not sure how it's going to look after its tyre. So we're a bit nervous, but we're just going to have to get out there and milk something out of it.
I'm nervous too, Rick. You just said you wanted to kick something. Please not be me. Best of luck, mate. I'm going to move out of here quickly, boys. In the meantime, no tyres left for Jason Richards, but the interesting thing is he's used all of those, boys. They told me the good news is after Sandown in qualifying, they have got fuel on board. They ran out there, remember?
Yes. It's good to see Rick holding back. 13th is his worst qualifying performance of the season, so no wonder he's scratching his head.
Russell Ingall, last time out at Sandown, qualified 6th in the field, which was a great start to his weekend. He's in this critical final 10 now as he crosses the control line into the 40k zone at pit lane. And so they'll invariably have verified a setting on the car now. He's got his eye and had a look at the track and should rattle on some brand spanking new Dunlops. Here they are, all bright and shiny. Actually, I spotted an unusual anomaly in the new tyres this weekend. It's as a result of a little issue with the moulds. Each of the tyres have got a dimple in them, Matthew, that's a tread depth indicator. Typically, a brand new tyre has an indication of between about 3.9 and 4 millimetres of tread. Some of the brand new ones are actually showing as little as 3.1, 3.2. And it's not that the tread is shallow, it's that the tread depth indicator was moulded incorrectly as a result of just a little fault in the production process. So it's causing the teams a bit of an issue, not in terms of the way the tyre works on the racetrack, but just how they do their record keeping, and they track the wear of the tyre, and it's very important as you choose your tyre sets over the weekend.
Remember, we've had 5 rounds so far of the season, and in terms of the fight for pole position, Ford leads the way 4-1. Jamie Whincup, the only man to double up. He was pole at Adelaide and our last round. Mark Winterbottom and Stephen Richards and Garth Tander took pole at Eastern Creek, the only holder to start from P1 in 08.
Winterbottom's already punched in an even 10, and watching Russell there cycling up on a brand new set of tyres. Notice he leaves the lane gently, not too hard on it in the first part of the lap. They'll be starting them with relatively high, what we describe as cold pressures here, as Holdsworth runs wide at the final turn. And then at a point in the lap, Russell will pull the trigger and go for it and hopefully find that optimum grip position with the tyre. Whincup's got his bright and shinies on. He's ready for a shot at it now as well. HRT are about to do the same.
Tyres, Jamie, cold tone. Set yourself up really well. Winterbottom is going out behind you, so make sure you give yourself plenty of space and heat in those tyres and have a good run, mate.
Well, boys, there you saw Jamie Whincup and Mark Winterbottom, both with fresh new shoes.
And that previous voice before Mark Beretta's was Mark Dutton. And Dutto's a bit of a character on the radio sometimes, so he sent him on his merry way out there.
It's
and just
like
making
sending him on holidays.
Yeah, that's right.
Have a good time.
Yeah, good luck and God bless, and we'll see you soon.
The funny thing is, probably, that
dirt coming out from the front of that car of Jason Richards. So we saw an unusual shot of him there a minute ago, and on the brakes you can see it spilling dirt. So now he's already punched a time of a 10-1 up to second, but it won't be enough. Jeff Grech, their team manager. This is a brand new car. Very different in its architecture from the previous car. So which tyre set was it that he fell off on then? And is this a brand spanking new tyre set that are going back on? They look like they've had some roading. They don't look like they're new at all.
No, they're not, Neil. They are all used tyres from the various sets. Nothing new here at this team in regards to boots.
Right, so they didn't end up in the third period with a brand new set at all. So he's putting what a friend of mine describes as his cleanest dirty shirt on.
They're heading towards that zone where the attacking laps start to come. And Lowndes is out there leading the way. You mentioned his teammate earlier, Jamie Whincup, left Sandown with 2 out of 3 race wins and the round, but he wasn't happy with that glitch in race 2. He was particularly hard on himself and was a bit down on himself last night in terms of his own form. And he's bounced back today, leading the way through qualifying. What's he got, though, in the final 10, the top 10?
No surprise that the temperature rises here in Darwin, but an update from the Dunlop engineers, and the air temperature out there now is 31, the track temperature is 37. We started out with 29 and 36.
There's Jamie, qualified 5th here in 2007. That's the highest he's ever been at Hidden Valley.
Lowndes is the one with form at this racetrack in the recent past, as you mentioned earlier in the show, Matty. He's on a 3-peat this weekend. Russell Ingall, final turn. Nice and stable exit. No wheel work required to catch any oversteer. Good, hard, 100% throttle on the exit. Second gear. The crack that you hear in the background is the rev limiter. 7,500 revs. And then it's near enough to a 1K run down to turn 1. We've focused on the bumps a couple of times into 1 down here. Mid-corner pace, 85 Ks. Building back again to 215 on the run up to the valley. This is Richards.
Get the feeling that Craig Lowndes is cycling up. He's just gone up to 2nd on the ladder with a 1:10.10. Back to Stephen in car 6.
You're going to see numbers jump up in a minute because Lowndes has done a very fast sector split, a 24 even in sector 1 for Craig Lowndes. He's 2nd at the moment on a 10.1, but the whole bunch of them are on laps here at the moment. Winterbottom's on 1, Lowndes is on 1, Richards is on 1. We're focused on Craig Lowndes, the man who's taken 2-round victories here in the last couple of years. This is the exit of turn 7. Green box to the 2nd sector.
Whoa, whoa, whoa.
Oh, that's cost him bad. He ran very wide there. That's burnt that lap. Richards, however, has done a very fast split. Jason Richards is 5th. Stephen Richards has done a fast split to the end of the 1st sector.
So Stephen is following Craig Lowndes out there on the circuit, if you like. Lowndes cycled up for this one. Stephen Richards a lap behind.
Sorry about that. I'll try and do a slow lap to see what I can do. Sorry about that.
Just a simple error.
Not enough time to do a full cool lap.
Stephen has 2 green boxes.
The reason for the urgency from Mark Dutton there is just on a minute remaining. He's got to get on with it and pass the control line before the lap's done. Richards.
Well, Jamie Whincup's already posted a quickest time, but now Stephen Richards answers back for Ford Performance Racing, 109.97.
And the man in the light blue shirt in the foreground there was Ray Price, the head of Ford Motorsport Australia. And hasn't he had a tough job this weekend? By the way, Winterbottom, his teammate, and there is Ray, has just jumped to the top of the pile on a 9.9.
That's why they're clapping, 109.96. So as Stephen Richards finished off his flyer, Mark Winterbottom, his teammate in car 5, came screaming down the front straight to put down a 109.96, 1/100th of a second.
Won't get another flyer. P3 at this stage, mate.
A little bit of disappointment coming out of Team Vodafone, but at the moment, Jamie Whincup is on the 2nd row of the grid. So 3 men have done 109s. Winterbottom, Richards and Whincup.
And Winterbottom's on a quick lap again. So he's done a fast split to the 1st sector. Let's see what he punches out at the 2nd sector here at the top of the circuit. Look at the rocking in the car across those bumps and the joint in the road. This is the run down to the final turn, turn 14. The 2nd sector split is not up on his own reference lap, as you can see, but it's very, very close.
He doesn't beat his own time, but he stays in position 1. Pole sitter at Barbagallo.
Pole position. Richo 2nd, mate. FPR front row. Well done.
Mark Winterbottom has done it again.
I'll tell you what,
I stopped up the hairpin and cost about 2.5 cents. So that's incredible. I have done bloody good laps. Never got poles, done nothing, got poles. So yeah, good job, guys.
Well, there you go. Mark Winterbottom reckons he made a clue up at the hairpin and it cost him a couple of tenths, and the drivers have usually got a very good feel for that as Lowndes comes down to complete a lap. And not where he would ideally want to be, but position 5 it'll be for Lowndes. His teammate position 3 as FPR quite rightly celebrate with an all FPR front row. And we saw 9.7s earlier, so what Mark Winterbottom is saying rings true, because a 9.9 is not the peak speeds that we've seen.
What a way to start the weekend when you come here leading the championship for the first time in your career. Not only that, FPR are in front for the first time in their lifetime, and now they've got the front row all to themselves for race 1. Jamie Whincup and Garth Tander will be on the second row of the grid. Then it's Lowndes and Jason Richards. 7th belongs to Ingle. 8th will go to Lee Holdsworth. And the back end of the top 10 will be the youngster Will Davison, side by side with Mark Scaife. A 4-time winner here. James Courtney, 2-time winner rather. James Courtney and Stephen Johnson head up positions 11 and 12. And Paul Dumbrell had his moments in qualifying. He'll start from 20th and the rear of the grid. Andrew Jones from 21st. Shane Van Gisbergen will be disappointed with his qualifying effort, especially off the back of his career best weekend at Sandown. And Kane Scott, 29 cars to start the first race of the Sky City Triple Crown. It's coming your way. Don't forget, Roland Dane and Dick Johnson will join us on the panel next to discuss the issues facing Ford, facing them, facing V8 Supercars. But Ford Performance Racing couldn't have got off to a better start. And the scary thing is that Mark Winterbottom reckons there's more to come out of car 5. He's becoming an expert at waiting to the dying minutes.
Sorry you had to do it so hard. Sorry you had to do it so hard.
At 27 years of age, his 60th round start, and he's just showing enormous maturity. He's a bit dumbfounded, Cromley.
Well, generally when you make a mistake, you wince inside your helmet and know that there's often no recovery, but clearly others had issues as well, and they're battling climbing temperatures, and the grip would be going away a little bit at this peak time of day. But another tremendous performance from Winterbottom, so he consolidates his position to get started in the ideal spot for race number 1.
Well, Mark Winterbottom just getting the helmet off at the moment. Frosty, congratulations. You stepped out of the car. You said, I don't believe it. Which part don't you believe?
Oh, well, I've done laps that have been perfect and ended up on the 2nd or 3rd row. I did that lap, missed the hairpin, missed a few spots and come round and went, crap, I've missed my chance to pole, and they said we've got a 1-2. So I'm amazed that I got pole then, but great job. You know, 2 cars on the front row. It's now a bit of a drag race to turn 1, so great job by the team.
Well done, mate. You enjoy it.
Thank you. Cheers.
There you go. Frosty will start from P1 in the heat of the top end. And Stephen Richards is a happy camper as well. Stick around after the break. Special panel focusing on Ford and the V8 Supercars. For the second time this season, Mark Winterbottom will start from position 1 in the V8 Supercars, collects another $5,000 from Armour All. Ford Performance Racing now have positions 1 and 2 for the first race of the Sky City Triple Crown. Talking about Ford, they are certainly the hot issue at the moment. We're going to talk right now about this burning issue of the company's change of policy in terms of funding support in V8 Supercars racing. Basically, it boils down to this. FPR and SBR are now the only 2 teams with direct cash support from the Blue Oval. It means that Brytech Motorsport, Dick Johnson Racing and Team Vodafone 888 effectively miss out. To talk about that, Neil Cropland joins me. So does Roland Dane, the team principal at 888, and also one of the icons of the Blue Oval, Dick Johnson. We'll have a chat to Dick in just a second. But Roland, I want to start with you first up. We know what's happened now, but everyone wants to know, why did it happen to your team?
I think it came down to a bit of colour discrimination at the end of the day. Ford, as they're entitled to do, decided that they needed to have predominantly blue cars, I believe, representing them as their official brand carriers. And we've, of course, got a naming rights sponsor that's got a particularly fetching shade of fluoro. And so I think we've fallen foul, to be honest, of circumstances in terms of differing branding ideas from competing sponsors, if you like, on the car.
It's amazing to think. Dick Johnson, what does this mean for you and DJR?
Well, it obviously means that we've really got to sit down now in amongst ourselves and see what options we do have available to us to be able to fill the gap that's left there, because it was a significant part of our budget. But going forward, as I said, we'll just sit down and see what we can do, and then, like everyone else, we'll make a business decision on which direction we take.
Roland, I was in your workshop a couple of weeks ago for an episode of V8 Extra, and one of the things that was going on there was this enormous project to build the FG Ford, and you've been an intrinsic part of that entire process. So that makes this decision all the more unusual.
Unusual, yeah. I mean, it makes it a little bit more difficult for us to absorb, really, as a company. My technical director, who's been with Triple H, you know, for 9 years, both here and in the UK, Ludo Lacroix, who has put an awful lot of personal effort into the design and development of the FG, particularly on the styling and the aero kit for the car. He's taking off tomorrow to sail his new boat back from Bali to Darwin, so I hope he gets here. But I know that he's gone off in a bit of a huff because he's particularly, I think, personally affronted by the fact that he's put in so much personal effort into it. So, yeah, it makes it strange, but hey, you know, it's their money at the end of the day, and they're entitled to do what they want with it.
And sometimes there can be a bit of emotion in this stuff. Dick, Roland made reference before to the colour implications of this decision. Have you also had that one thrown at you, that colour played a role in the decision at Jim Beam Racing?
Well, not directly, but that's what we believe is one of the reasons for it. But, you know, I see that in one respect, I suppose, they still make red cars, I know that, so that to me sounds a bit ambiguous.
Roland, if red is the issue for you, then there's quite a few people out there watching this thinking, well, why wouldn't you just go red next year? As in, would you switch sides and go to Holden?
Oh, I mean, look, at the end of the day, we've always got the opportunity to change if we wanted to. It's, as Dick alluded to there, it's a business decision, whatever direction we go into, and hey, yeah, maybe we'll run one of each.
Dick, what about you? You've seen the amazing highs and the lows of this sport. Where does this one rank for you, this decision, and the shock that you felt when you found out about it?
Well, look, you know, as you know, mate, we've had a lot of those over the period of years that I've been involved, but certainly this was totally unexpected. Some of the others come unexpected, but certainly not like this. So we'll just regroup and sit down and see what our options are, because you know, I'm a great believer in turning negatives into positives, and when one door closes, another one opens, and let's hope it's a good one.
Roland, on that subject, and if we talk about glass half full and not half empty, is this an opportunity now for the industry to reassess where it's at with the number of manufacturers that are playing in the space and others that might be able to, and indeed a technical agenda going forward? Oh,
totally. I mean, Dick's absolutely right. Whenever something as negative as this comes out of the blue to you, as it were, then you should always be saying, okay, well, what can we make out of this? And I think that's not only from a team point of view, but it's also from a category point of view. We've got to understand that things are changing, and these two companies that we're involved with here, Holden and Ford, have both had their fair share of challenges in the last year or two, and we need to learn to adapt our sport to really suit what our sponsors and manufacturers may want in the future.
how did you keep your focus coming into this weekend, given what's happened over the last couple of days? Because you've now got both your drivers inside the top 5, even though I know that you think it could have been higher.
Oh, no, we actually were very disappointed just now with ourselves, because Jamie did a great job, but we just we should have been on pole easily with Jamie, and Craig used his tyres too early. But look, we're very competitive here. The guys don't need me to lift them in these circumstances. They're out there and they're looking forward to beating the Volvos. I mean, sorry, the Fords on the track.
It's tight at the top end of town, isn't it, at the moment? I mean, we haven't seen anybody break clear in this championship. Everybody stumbled at some point at least once. It's amazing to consider that Jamie didn't even get a point on the board in New Zealand after the qualifying incident, and he's well and truly in the points game. And it appears to me as though Craig has lifted his game just in the last couple of rounds. Something's happened in the chemistry inside your outfit, and he's well and truly a factor now as well.
Yeah, well, Craig had a new engineer at the beginning of the year. Takes a little bit of time to gel, but I think Craig he's always there or thereabouts, and anyone who discounts Craig in a racing situation is silly, because he'll always produce the goods at some point, and you've seen him at the big moments at Bathurst and everything. He's there. So, and look, Jamie's just done a fantastic job the last 2 years, and he's continuing to do that. And despite the setbacks, he's said, yep, okay, that's over. Let's get on and keep winning races.
And Dick, before we let you go and concentrate on race 1, asked Roland the same question, so we've got to afford it to you. Would you consider a switch of sides given what's happened?
Well, look, when you consider the amount of work that's gone into the development of the new FG, I suppose it would be very disappointing to go anywhere else. But after all, they're only sheet panels, so we can pull one set of sheet panels off and bolt another set on. So and still maintain the engineering that's currently in the cars at this point in time. So, you know, anything's possible. As I said, you know, we just really got to see what our options are and make a business decision.
All right, mate. Well, these are interesting times. We appreciate your thoughts, Dick, and we appreciate yours and your time as well, Roland. Thank you very much. Good luck in race 1.
Thank you.
So there it is. That's the biggest issue facing the V8 Supercars at the moment. We're going to take a break here from Hidden Valley. The Australian Formula Ford Championship is coming up.
We may be halfway through the year, but there is still plenty of V8 Supercar action on offer around the country. Round 7. The V8 Supercars tackle the tight turns of the paperclip at the Queensland 400. Round 8. The final 3 sprint races before the Enduros. It's sure to be wet and wild at Winton Motor Raceway. For all your ticket and event information, check out v8supercars.com.au.